Nexus Station floated in the darkness between three star systems. It was massive. The station stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of ships came and went every day. Millions of beings from hundreds of different species lived and worked here. They traded goods, they made deals, they sometimes killed each other in dark corners. Nexus Station was neutral ground. No empire controlled it. No laws protected the weak. Only money and power mattered here. Commander Ilara Vance stood near the viewing window on level 47. She watched a Thyracan warship approach the docking ring. The ship was ugly and brutal. It looked like a weapon rather than a vessel. Sharp angles and dark metal. No beauty, only purpose. Ilara was small. She stood only 5 feet and 2 inches tall. Her brown hair was cut short and practical. Her uniform was clean but simple. She wore no medals or decorations. Nothing about her appearance suggested importance. She looked like a secretary or a junior officer, someone easy to ignore, someone easy to forget. This was exactly what she wanted. Her assistant, a young man named Torres, stood beside her. He was nervous. His hands would not stay still. "Commander," he said quietly, "the Thyracans are known for violence. They respect only strength. Perhaps we should request a different negotiator, someone more intimidating." Ilara did not look at him. She kept watching the warship. "The council chose me for this mission," she said. Her voice was calm and flat. "Do you question the council's judgment?" Torres swallowed hard. "No, Commander. Of course not." "Then prepare the meeting room. They will dock in 20 minutes. Torres hurried away. Ilara remained at the window. A small smile touched her lips. It did not reach her eyes. The Thyracans were insectoid beings. They stood 9 feet tall on average. Their bodies were covered in hard chitin armor. They had 4 arms. 2 ended in hands. 2 ended in natural blades made of bone and shell. They were born warriors. Their entire culture was built on combat and dominance. The strong ruled. The weak served or died. They had conquered 11 species in the last century. They feared nothing. They had never fought humans. Humanity was new to the galactic stage. Only 40 years had passed since first contact. Humans had spread quickly through the stars. They built colonies. They made alliances. They traded and explored. But they had avoided major conflicts. Most species saw them as soft, weak. Their bodies had no armor, no claws, no venom. They were small compared to most spacefaring races. They needed tools and machines for everything. The other species did not understand. They saw human bodies and thought they knew human capability. This was a mistake, a terrible mistake. But the humans did not correct them. They smiled politely and let the galaxy believe what it wanted to believe. The Thyracan delegation arrived exactly on time. Warlord Kethros led them. He was enormous, even by Thyracan standards, nearly 10 feet tall. His chitin was dark red, almost black. Scars covered his body. Each scar was a trophy. Each scar told a story of victory. He walked through the station's main atrium like he owned it. His warriors followed in formation. Other species moved quickly out of their way. A Velnoxy merchant stumbled in his haste to escape. A group of Korthan traders pressed themselves against the wall. Fear filled the air. Everyone could smell it. Ilara waited in the center of the atrium. She did not move. She did not step aside. She stood directly in the path of the Thyracan delegation. Kethros stopped. He looked down at her. His compound eyes showed no emotion. His mandibles clicked together slowly. "You block my path, small creature," he said. His voice was deep and harsh. The translator made it sound even worse. "Move or be moved." "Warlord Kethros," Ilara said. She did not raise her voice. She did not step back. "I am Commander Ilara Vance of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. I am here to negotiate the mining rights in the Velar system. I believe you received our communication. Kethros stared at her for a long moment, then he made a sound. It took Alara a moment to realize he was laughing. This, he said loudly, he wanted everyone in the atrium to hear. This is what the humans send to negotiate with warriors? A soft grub? A hatchling barely out of the egg? His warriors laughed with him. The sound echoed through the atrium. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species watched. They whispered to each other. They recorded with their devices. This moment would spread across the station within the hour. The Galactic Council insults the Thyrakan Dominion, Kethros continued. They send us this tiny, weak thing, and expect us to take it seriously. Look at it. No armor, no weapons, no strength. I could crush it with one hand. He leaned down. His face came close to Alara's. His breath smelled like old meat. Go home, little human, he whispered. But his whisper was loud enough for everyone to hear. Send someone worthy of our time. Send someone we might actually respect. Or send no one at all. The Valar system will be ours regardless. Your kind is not strong enough to stop us. Alara looked up at him. Her expression did not change. Her heart rate did not increase. Her hands remained still at her sides. I will see you in the negotiation chamber in 1 hour, warlord, she said simply. Try not to be late. She turned and walked away. She did not hurry. She did not look back. Her footsteps were steady and even. Behind her, Kethros watched her go. His mandibles clicked rapidly. This was anger. This tiny creature had dismissed him. She had shown no fear. She had shown no respect. She had walked away from him like he was nothing. The human has courage, one of his warriors said quietly. Stupid courage. But courage. Courage means nothing without strength, Kethros replied. Tomorrow, I will teach the humans what happens when grubs challenge warriors. I will make an example of their little diplomat. The galaxy will learn that the Thyrakan Dominion bows to no one, especially not to soft, weak, tiny humans. He turned and led his warriors toward their quarters. His mind was already planning. Not negotiations, something else. Something that would put the humans in their proper place forever. In her own quarters, Alara removed her uniform jacket. She stood before the mirror. Her body was small and slim, unremarkable, ordinary. She pressed her hand against her lower back. Beneath the skin, something hard clicked and hummed. Lights flickered briefly along her spine. Green lights. All systems functioning. Alara smiled again. This time, the smile did reach her eyes. But it was not a warm smile. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of something very dangerous, pretending to be harmless. She had waited a long time for this assignment, a very long time. Tomorrow would be interesting. The negotiation chamber was built for giants. The ceiling rose 40 feet above the floor. The chairs were massive. The table could seat 50 beings of any size. Nexus Station had designed this room to make everyone feel small, to remind them that no single species mattered more than another. Alara sat alone on one side of the table. She looked like a child in an adult's chair. Her feet did not touch the floor. She had to climb up to reach the seat. A lesser person would have felt embarrassed. Alara felt nothing. She simply waited. Her security team stood along the wall behind her. 6 soldiers in light armor. They carried standard weapons. They looked professional but not threatening. This was intentional. Humans always looked professional but not threatening. It was a strategy that worked very well. The Thyrakans arrived late. This was another insult. Another display of dominance. Kethros entered first. His warriors spread out along their side of the room. They did not sit. They stood in combat positions, ready for violence at any moment. Kethros looked at Alara. His mandibles clicked with amusement. You came back, he said. I thought perhaps you would run away in the night. Most prey runs when it sees a predator. I am not prey, Elara replied calmly. And you are not a predator. You are a diplomat. We are here to discuss mining rights. Shall we begin? She slid a datapad across the table. It contained the human proposal. Fair terms, reasonable distribution of resources. A solution that would benefit both species. Kethros did not look at it. He pushed it off the table with one of his blade arms. The pad shattered on the floor. I do not negotiate with lesser beings, he said. I do not discuss terms with creatures I could kill with one strike. You insult me by being here. You insult my warriors. You insult my entire species. Elara showed no reaction to the destroyed datapad. She folded her hands on the table. Then what do you propose, warlord? Kethros leaned forward. His massive body cast a shadow over the entire table. I propose that humans leave the Valar system, forever. I propose that your kind accepts its place in the galaxy. You are not warriors. You are not conquerors. You are small and soft and weak. You should serve stronger species. You should be grateful we allow you to exist at all. Torres stepped forward. His face was red with anger. You cannot speak to the commander this way. The Galactic Council has laws, protocols. You cannot simply take what you want through threats and intimidation. Kethros turned his gaze to Torres. The young man immediately stepped back. His courage had lasted only a moment. The Council, Kethros said slowly. Yes, the Council has laws, and the Council has ways to resolve disputes when negotiations fail. He straightened to his full height. I invoke Karthok. Silence filled the room. Even Elara's security team shifted uncomfortably. Torres went pale. Karthok, the ancient right of challenge. It existed in Thyrakan law, and had been accepted by the Galactic Council centuries ago. When negotiations reached an impossible point, either party could invoke Karthok. A duel. A fight to the death. The winner took everything. The loser species forfeited all claims. Commander, Torres whispered urgently, you must refuse. We can appeal to the Council. We can find another way. If she refuses, Kethros said loudly, human claims to the Velar system are forfeit. That is the law. That is Karthok. She must fight or she must surrender. There is no other choice. The Thyrakan warriors made sounds of approval. They stamped their feet against the floor. The room shook with the rhythm of their excitement. Elara sat quietly through all of this. She watched Kethros. She studied him. His size, his confidence, his complete certainty that he had already won. Who must fight? She asked. Her voice was still calm, still flat. Must I fight personally, or may I name a champion? Kethros clicked his mandibles. You may name a champion. Most species do. They find their largest warrior, their strongest fighter. It does not matter. I have killed champions from a dozen species. I will kill yours as well. Elara nodded slowly. She looked at her security team. 6 trained soldiers. Good men and women, strong and capable. Any of them would fight for her. Any of them would die for her. She turned back to Kethros. I accept Karthok, she said. I will fight you myself. The room went completely silent. Even the Thyrakans stopped moving. Torres made a small choking sound. The security team looked at each other in confusion and alarm. Kethros stared at her. For the first time, something other than contempt crossed his features. Confusion. Perhaps a small amount of curiosity. You, he said, you will fight me? Personally? You understand what this means? This is not a game. This is not a contest. This is death. Real death. I will kill you. I will tear you apart in front of everyone. Your body will be destroyed. Your name will be forgotten. Your species will lose everything. I understand, Elara said. She stood up from her chair. Standing, she barely reached the height of the table. I accept, Karthok. I will fight you myself. No champion, no substitution. Me. She walked around the table. She stopped directly in front of Kethros. She had to crane her neck to look up at him. The size difference was almost comical. A child standing before a monster. Name the time and place, she said. Kethros recovered from his surprise. His mandibles spread wide in what passed for a Thyracan smile. The circle of resolution, he said. Tomorrow, 1 hour past station noon. The whole galaxy will watch. The whole galaxy will see what happens when humans forget their place. Agreed. Alara turned and walked toward the door. Her security team scrambled to follow her. Torres was practically running to keep up. Commander, Torres said desperately. Commander, please. This is madness. He will kill you. He has killed hundreds of opponents, champions, warriors, beings twice your size. You cannot possibly defeat him in combat. There must be another way. There must be something we can do. Alara stopped at the door. She looked back at the Thyracan delegation. Kethros was already celebrating with his warriors. They were certain of victory. Absolutely certain. Torres, Alara said quietly, I need you to do something for me. Anything, Commander. Anything at all. Access my personnel file. The full file. Authorization code, Vance 77 Black. Torres blinked. Your full file? Commander, full personnel files are classified. I do not have clearance for that level of information. That authorization code will give you temporary access. Read the file. All of it. Then you will understand. She walked out of the negotiation chamber. Torres stood frozen for a moment. Then he pulled out his datapad. His hands trembled as he entered the authorization code. The file opened. Torres began to read. His face went white, then gray. His hands stopped trembling. They went completely still. Oh, he whispered. Oh no. He looked up at the door where Alara had disappeared. Then he looked back at the Thyracans, still celebrating their coming victory. Oh no, he said again. But this time, he was not worried about Commander Vance. He was worried about Warlord Kethros. The news spread across Nexus Station within hours. A human diplomat had accepted Karthok against Warlord Kethros. A tiny female human would fight the most feared Thyracan warrior in the sector. Everyone agreed it was suicide. Everyone wanted to watch. In a dark corner of the station's entertainment district, a Velnoxy information broker named Sethnal sat in his usual booth. He was small and gray, with large eyes that saw everything. He sold secrets. Good secrets. Expensive secrets. Beings came to him when they needed to know things that others wanted hidden. Tonight, a Korthan merchant sat across from him. The Korthan was large and muscular, with blue-green scales. He pushed a credit chip across the table. I want to bet on the fight, the Korthan said. Big money on the Thyracan. Easy profit, yes? The human has no chance. Sethnal did not touch the credit chip. He made a strange sound. It might have been a laugh. You want my advice on betting? The information broker asked. I usually sell facts, not gambling tips. Facts, then. Tell me facts about this human. Tell me why I should not bet my entire fortune on Kethros crushing her like an insect. Sethanal leaned back in his seat. His large eyes blinked slowly. I will tell you something for free, he said, because I like you, because I do not want to see you lose everything. He paused. Never bet against humans. The Korthan made a dismissive sound. Humans are weak, small, soft. Everyone knows this. Everyone is wrong. Sethanal leaned forward. Let me tell you about humans. What they really are. What they can really do. He pulled out a data crystal. Images flickered in the air above the table. Humans evolved on a death world, Sethanal began. Their planet is covered with predators, poison creatures, extreme temperatures, natural disasters. Most species would die within days on the human homeworld. But humans survived. They did more than survive. They conquered every environment on their planet. Deserts, frozen wastelands, jungles filled with things that wanted to eat them. They conquered everything. The Korthon shifted uncomfortably. Many species have difficult homeworlds. Not like this. Sethnal changed the image. It showed a human hunting. Humans are pursuit predators. Do you know what this means? They do not ambush their prey. They do not use speed or venom or traps. They follow. They walk. They run. They chase their prey for hours, for days, until the prey collapses from exhaustion, until the prey simply cannot run anymore. Then the humans kill it. The image changed again. It showed human endurance tests. Beings running for hours without stopping. Their bodies are designed for this, Sethnal continued. They sweat, which cools them while other species overheat. Their legs store energy like springs. Their hearts pump blood with incredible efficiency. A healthy human can walk for days without rest. They can lose limbs and survive. They can be injured in ways that would kill most species and simply keep going. The Korthon was very quiet now. And that is just their natural bodies, Sethnal said softly, before the modifications. Modifications? Sethnal pulled up another file. It was heavily encrypted. Red warning symbols flashed across the display. The human military has special units, he said. They call them Reapers. The humans take their best soldiers, their most dangerous killers, and they make them better, stronger, faster. They replace bones with carbon fiber. They add synthetic muscles that can lift 10 times normal human strength. They put computers in their brains that make them think faster than any natural being. They remove fear. They remove hesitation. They create perfect weapons that look like ordinary humans. The Korthon stared at the encrypted file. The human diplomat. She is one of these Reapers? I do not know for certain, Sethnal admitted. Her file is sealed, hidden. The humans do not want anyone to know what she really is. But I have been watching her since she arrived. Her heart rate never changes. Not when Kethvros threatened her. Not when she accepted Karthok. Nothing makes her afraid. Nothing makes her nervous. That is not normal. That is not natural. He leaned very close to the Korthon. Do not bet against her, he whispered. In fact, do not bet at all. Just watch. Watch and learn what humans really are. In her quarters, Elara Vance prepared for tomorrow. She did not sleep. She did not need much sleep anymore. The modifications had changed that, along with everything else. She stood in front of the mirror again. Slowly, she removed her uniform. Her body was covered with small scars. Each scar marked where the surgeons had opened her up, where they had removed weak flesh and replaced it with something stronger. Her spine was no longer bone. It was a flexible carbon composite that could withstand impacts that would shatter normal spines. Her muscles had been enhanced with synthetic fibers. They looked normal. They felt normal to the touch. But they could generate forces that would tear a normal human apart. Her nervous system had been rewired. Her reflexes were 4 times faster than baseline human. Her brain had been enhanced with neural accelerators. She could process information faster than any natural being. In combat, the world seemed to slow down around her. She had time to think, time to plan, time to find the perfect angle, the perfect moment, the perfect strike. And there was more. Things that did not show on any scan. Things that the human military kept very secret. Elara touched the scar on her chest. Beneath it, her heart had been replaced. The new one never tired. It never failed. It pumped blood with perfect efficiency, forever. She was 47 years old. She looked 30. She would look 30 for a very long time. The Terran Reapers were humanity's answer to a hostile galaxy. Other species had natural weapons, claws, fangs, armor, venom. Humans had none of these things, so they built their own. They took ordinary humans and transformed them into something extraordinary, something terrible. Alara had volunteered for the program 20 years ago. She had been a good soldier before, skilled, dedicated, but ordinary. Now she was anything but ordinary. She had killed 347 enemies in combat. She remembered every single one. Their faces, their screams, the exact moment when life left their bodies. The neural modifications made forgetting impossible. This was the price of being a Reaper. Perfect memory, perfect recall of every terrible thing you had ever done. Tomorrow, she would add Kethvros to that number. She felt nothing about this. No excitement, no fear, no doubt. She simply accepted it as fact. The Thyrakan warlord was already dead. He just did not know it yet. In his quarters, Kethvros sharpened his blade arms. The edges gleamed in the light. They could cut through metal. They could slice through bone like paper. "The human female will die quickly," one of his warriors said. "You should make it last. Make the galaxy see what happens to those who challenge us." Kethvros clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Perhaps. She showed courage. Stupid courage, but courage. Perhaps she deserves a quick death. She deserves nothing. She is prey. She is weak. She is beneath us. Yes, Kethvros agreed, she is all of these things. He held up his blade arm. The edge caught the light perfectly. Tomorrow the humans will learn their place in the galaxy. They will learn that size matters, that strength matters, that all their technology and intelligence means nothing against true warriors. He smiled his terrible Thyrakan smile. Tomorrow will be a good day. He was wrong. He was very, very wrong. The Circle of Resolution was the largest arena on Nexus Station. It could hold 50,000 spectators. Today, every seat was filled. Beings from dozens of species had come to watch. They packed the stands. They crowded the walkways. They hung from railings and perched on support beams. Millions more watched through screens across the station. Billions watched across the galaxy through broadcast feeds. Everyone wanted to see the little human die. The arena floor was covered with sand. Real sand, brought from a dozen different worlds. It absorbed blood well. It made cleanup easier. The circle had seen thousands of duels over the centuries. Most ended quickly. Most ended badly for the smaller fighter. Kethvros entered first. The crowd roared with excitement. He walked slowly across the sand. His chitin armor gleamed under the harsh lights. His blade arms were raised high. He turned in circles, acknowledging the cheers of the spectators. He was a performer as much as a warrior. He understood that victory meant nothing without an audience. Alara entered from the opposite side. She wore simple clothes, a gray shirt, dark pants, soft boots, no armor, no weapons, nothing but cloth and flesh. The crowd went silent for a moment. Then they began to laugh. The sound rolled across the arena like thunder. 50,000 beings laughing at this tiny creature who had come to die. Ilara walked to the center of the arena. She did not acknowledge the crowd. She did not look at anyone except Kethvros. Her face showed no expression. Her body showed no tension. She simply walked and stopped and waited. Kethvros approached her. He stopped 10 feet away. Up close, the size difference was even more extreme. He was nearly twice her height. His body mass was at least 5 times greater. His blade arms could reach her before she could take a single step toward him. "Little human," he said loudly. The arena had perfect acoustics. Everyone could hear every word. "You have come to die. I respect your courage. It is foolish courage, stupid courage, but courage nonetheless. I will give you one final chance. Surrender now, forfeit your claims. I will let you live. You will return to your people and tell them that you faced a true warrior and chose wisdom over death. Alara said nothing. She simply watched him. Kethros clicked his mandibles with irritation. Nothing? No final words? No pleas for mercy? No brave speeches about human spirit and determination? No, Alara said simply. Begin. The bell sounded. The duel had started. Kethros moved immediately. He was fast for his size. Incredibly fast. His right blade arm swept down in a devastating arc. The strike was meant to cut her in half from shoulder to hip. It was a killing blow. A finishing move. He wanted to end this quickly. He wanted to show the galaxy that humans were nothing. Alara moved. To the spectators, it looked like she simply was not there anymore. One moment, she stood in the path of the blade. The next moment, she was 3 feet to the left. The blade cut only air and sand. Kethros was surprised, but not worried. He attacked again. Both blade arms this time. A scissor strike that would cut her from both sides. There was nowhere to go. No escape. Alara dropped. She fell to her knees so fast that the blades passed over her head. Then she was up again. Moving. Circling. Always just out of reach. The crowd had stopped laughing. The arena was very quiet now. Kethros attacked again and again. He was a veteran of hundreds of duels. He knew every technique, every angle, every trick. He struck high. He struck low. He tried combinations that had killed champions from a dozen species. None of them touched her. Alara moved like water, like smoke, like something that was not entirely real. She did not block his attacks. She did not need to. She was simply not there when the blades arrived. She flowed around his strikes with movements that should have been impossible for any living thing. Stand still, Kethros roared. Frustration had replaced his confidence. Stop running. Face me like a warrior. I am facing you, Alara replied. Her voice was calm. She was not breathing hard. She was not sweating. You simply cannot hit me. She was inside his guard now. Close. Too close for his blade arms to work properly. This was the weakness of the Thyrakan body. Their weapons were designed for distance, for reach. Up close, those same weapons became clumsy, awkward, useless. Alara struck. Her fist hit Kethros in the joint between his thorax and abdomen. The blow looked small. It looked weak. It should have done nothing against his chitin armor. Cracks appeared in his chitin. The sound echoed through the silent arena. He looked down at the damage. He could not understand it. That blow should have been nothing. The human was tiny. The human was soft. The human should not have been able to scratch his armor with 100 blows. Alara struck again, and again. Each blow targeted a different joint, a different weak point, a different place where the chitin was thin. Each blow sounded like something breaking. Because something was breaking. His armor, his protection, his confidence. Kethros tried to retreat. He tried to create distance, to get back to where his blade arms could work. But Alara stayed with him. She moved when he moved. She was his shadow, his mirror, his death. What are you? He gasped. Fear had entered his voice. Real fear. Something he had not felt in decades. What are you? Alara did not answer with words. She grabbed his left blade arm. Her hands should not have been strong enough to hold it, but they did. They held it tight. They held it still. Kethros pulled against her grip with all his strength. The arm did not move. Then Alara twisted. The sound was horrible. Chitin cracking, joints separating, muscles tearing. Kethros screamed. It was a sound that none of the spectators would ever forget. A sound of absolute agony. a sound of something that had always been the predator, suddenly becoming the prey. His blade arm came off in her hands. She threw it aside like garbage. Kethvros swung his remaining blade arm in desperation. Elara caught it. She caught a blade that could cut through metal like it was nothing. She caught it and stopped it and held it still. Her hands were bleeding. The blade had cut her palms, but she did not let go. She did not even seem to notice the pain. "You mocked my size," she said quietly. Only Kethvros could hear her. Only he could see her eyes. "You called me soft, weak, a grub, a hatchling." She began to push. Her hands moved apart. The blade arm began to bend. Bend in ways it was never meant to bend. "You were wrong." Elara gripped his thorax with both hands. Her fingers found the seam where the plates of his armor met, the weakest point of his body, the place where his chitin was thinnest. She planted her feet in the sand. She adjusted her grip, and she pulled. What happened next lasted less than 2 seconds, but everyone who watched would remember it forever. Elara pulled Warlord Kethvros apart. His body separated at the thorax. The sound was wet and terrible. His internal organs spilled onto the sand. His legs collapsed in one direction. His upper body fell in another. His eyes were still moving, still trying to understand what had happened, still trying to accept that he was dead. Elara stood in the center of the arena. It was green, and it steamed in the air. Her hands were still bleeding from the blade. Her clothes were ruined. Her expression had not changed. Her heart rate had not increased. The arena was completely silent. 50,000 beatings. Not one of them made a sound. Elara looked up at the Thyrakan delegation in their private viewing box. They were frozen, paralyzed with shock and fear. Their greatest warrior had just been destroyed by a creature they considered prey. "Are there any further objections?" Elara called out, her voice carrying clearly through the silence, "to the proposed mining agreement?" No one answered. No one could answer. No one could speak. Elara turned and walked out of the arena. She left a trail of green blood behind her. She did not look back at the body. She did not look at the crowd. She simply walked away, like nothing important had happened. Like she had done this many times before. The mining agreement was signed the next day. The Thyrakan delegation did not negotiate. They did not argue. They did not make demands. They simply signed whatever documents Commander Vance placed in front of them. Their hands trembled as they made their marks. The new leader of the delegation was a warrior named Vethkos. He was old, experienced. He had fought in dozens of wars and survived. He had watched the duel from the viewing box. He had seen his warlord torn apart like paper. "You have what you wanted," he said to Elara after the signing. His voice was very quiet, very controlled. "The Velar system is yours. Human mining ships can begin operations immediately." "Thank you for your cooperation," Elara replied. She sat across from him in the diplomatic chamber. She looked exactly as she had before the duel. Clean, professional, small, harmless, as if nothing had happened. As if she had not killed the greatest warrior of the Thyrakan Dominion with her bare hands. Vethkos studied her for a long moment. His compound eyes tried to find something, some sign of what she really was, some evidence of the monster beneath the soft human skin. He found nothing. She looked like a secretary, a junior officer, someone easy to ignore. "May I ask you a question?" he said finally. "Of course." "Why did you accept the challenge personally? You could have named a champion. You could have found a larger human, a stronger human, someone who looked more like a warrior. Why did you go into the circle yourself?" Elara considered the question. She was silent for several seconds. "Because I wanted to," she said simply. "Because Kethvros insulted me. Because he insulted my species. Because he needed to learn that size means nothing. that appearances mean nothing, that the galaxy had badly underestimated humanity, and because I am very good at what I do. Vethkos nodded slowly. The duel will be studied, analyzed. Your fighting style, your speed, your strength. The Dominion will learn from this defeat. We will find ways to counter human enhancements. That is your right, Alara agreed. But I should warn you. I am not unique. There are others like me. Many others. We were created to fight enemies exactly like you. Large, strong, armored, natural weapons. The more you study me, the more you will realize that I am not an exception. I am a standard. The old warrior was very still. How many? He asked. How many what? How many reapers? How many humans like you? Alara smiled. It was a small smile. A polite smile. A diplomatic smile. I am not authorized to share that information. She stood and gathered her documents. The negotiation was complete. Her mission was finished. She would return to Earth and receive new orders, new enemies, who needed to learn what humans really were. Vethkos spoke again before she reached the door. The old songs of our people speak of demons, he said, creatures that look weak but contain terrible power, creatures that prey on the strong and the proud, creatures that should be feared above all others. He paused. I always thought they were just stories. Now I wonder if our ancestors met humans. Alara did not respond. She walked out of the diplomatic chamber and did not look back. In the days that followed, the recording of the duel spread across the galaxy. Every species with access to the galactic network saw what happened. They watched the tiny human dodge attacks that should have been impossible to avoid. They watched her crack armor that should have been unbreakable. They watched her tear a warrior apart with hands that should have been too weak to harm him. The recording was studied by military academies, governments. Everyone who had an interest in galactic power wanted to understand what they had seen. Reports began to circulate. Classified reports, secret reports, reports that asked difficult questions about humanity. One report, compiled by a Velnoxi intelligence service, contained the following analysis. Human beings appear weak. This is deliberate. They have spent 40 years among us, trading and smiling and pretending to be harmless. They have led us believe that they are soft, that they are prey, that they are beneath our concern. This was a strategy, a very successful strategy. They have now revealed a portion of their true capability. We must assume that what we saw in the Circle of Resolution is not the full extent of human power. We must assume that they have hidden even more dangerous weapons, even more terrible soldiers, even more frightening technologies. Recommendation: do not provoke the humans. Do not underestimate the humans. Do not, under any circumstances, give the humans a reason to show us what else they are hiding. Similar reports appeared across the galaxy. Different species, different analysts, different words, but all reaching the same conclusion. The humans were not what they appeared to be. The humans were something else entirely. Something dangerous. Something that should be respected. Something that should be feared. On Nexus Station, the information broker Zethnal counted his profits. He had bet heavily on the human. He was now very wealthy, but wealth did not make him feel better. He kept thinking about what Alara had said to the Thyrakan elder. I am not an exception. I am a standard. A standard. That meant there were more, many more, an entire army of creatures who looked like ordinary humans, but could tear warriors apart with their hands. Zethnal decided to retire from the information business. Some secrets were too dangerous to know. On Earth, in a building with no official name and no official address, a message arrived from Nexus Station. Mission complete. Agreement signed. Returning for new assignment. A man read the message and smiled. He was old and tired, and had seen too many wars. But he was also proud. Proud of what humanity had built. Proud of what humanity had become. The galaxy had mocked humans for 40 years. They had called humans weak, soft, small, harmless. They had patted humanity on the head like a child and sent them away from the serious conversations. Those days were ending. The galaxy was learning a new truth. Humans were not weak. They had simply been patient. They had been waiting, building, preparing, hiding their true strength behind smiles and diplomacy and soft words. Now the waiting was over. Now the galaxy would see what humans really were. The old man leaned back in his chair. He thought about Alara Vance. He thought about the other Reapers. The hundreds of perfect soldiers scattered across human space, ready, waiting, prepared for whatever came next. They should have been nicer to us, he said to no one in particular. They really should have been nicer. Somewhere across the galaxy, species who had never given humans a second thought began to review their policies, their treaties, their defensive strategies. They began to ask themselves a simple question. What if the humans decide they want more than mining rights? The answer frightened them. And that fear, that new respect, that sudden understanding of what humanity really was, spread across the galaxy like fire. The humans had arrived, not as prey, not as weaklings, not as soft little creatures to be mocked and dismissed. The humans had arrived as something else entirely, and the galaxy would never be the same.